troubled water, ice in my muddy water. Rich off a mixtape, got rich off a mixtape. Probably
got a video for you guys. This is a prediction for the upcoming bout between Selcuk Aydin and JoJo Dan. It takes place for the WBC Silver Welterweight Championship in Turkey on November 26th, which is like next Saturday. So puts together the silver champion Selcuk Aydin against JoJo Dan, the challenger. This is actually a rematch from a bout from like last year, where it was very close, and some in the feeling of the outcome of the fight is subjective. Some believe JoJo Dan won, some believe Aydin won. So pretty much, you know, over the past few months or so, a lot of people who are fans and have seen, actually are familiar with the first fight between these two, have pretty much been demanding the rematch because some felt that JoJo Dan did enough to win the fight, and then there's some that believe that Selcuk Aydin won the fight. I personally had JoJo Dan winning the fight, but like I said, could have gone either way. But one thing about this first fight was the size of the ring was small, and it did favor the shorter fighter in Aydin. Aydin was a shorter fighter. He's like 5'6", 5'7". So like everywhere, so JoJo Dan didn't really have much room to work from. He didn't have much room to work from or utilize much of anything. He couldn't really use much of his size advantage in this fight just because the ring was so small. It's like if he wanted to take a step back, being that he's about 5'11", if he wants to take like a step back or move around the ring, then he's close to the ropes and he's trying to fight off the ropes. That's kind of how small that ring was. The ring was just very small and compact, and it favored Aydin in this fight. And so in this fight, I really wonder if the size of the ring is going to be small again, because I think that JoJo Dan needs a bigger ring to have more of an advantage in this fight. So Selcuk Aydin is a fighter. He's 5'7". Has like 22-0, 17 knockouts. He's actually a decent fighter. He's a decent fighter, and has this, and pretty much his tendency is to tag and then tee off. And he tees off when he knows his opponent is hurt. Since he's a shorter fighter, he has to get close to his opponent and has to work his way inside to establish some type of offense. So he has to find his way to get his head on inside to get to JoJo Dan, being that he's a taller fighter. And if it's a smaller ring, then it definitely favors him, and he has to cut off the ring against JoJo Dan so that he doesn't, you know, in order for him to not be able to stand outside and let his hands go. So in this fight, I think I really wouldn't look for the right hook lead. The right hook lead isn't right or left hook lead. He shouldn't lead in with a hook in this fight. He shouldn't lead in with a hook because, you know, being that JoJo Dan's a southpaw, you know, he can get countered with a jab, and JoJo Dan is in another direction. You know, being that he's the taller, longer fighter, what he needs to do is he needs to smother JoJo Dan the entire fight. He needs to be in front of him. And if that ring is going to be small, then he, like I said, he has every opportunity to be in front of JoJo Dan, just because of how small that ring is. So he needs to pretty much get JoJo Dan to the corner. Needs to get him into the corner and just go to the body. He's a good body puncher when his opponent stands in front of him. He likes to walk down opponents, and the way to walk down JoJo Dan is pretty much jab and walk forward. Jab and walk forward, throw power shots, look for the straight right hand, look to counter the jab with the left hook, and also look for the uppercut to the solar plexus, which is going to be open against JoJo Dan. He doesn't really cover up the solar plexus all that well, because he has more of his defense is how his hands are positioned. His hands are positioned in a way that where his solar plexus are just never covered. So he doesn't really cover the solar plexus. So I think he has to punch him right to the middle of the body, and also he might have to fight a little bit low in this fight. You know, he has to crouch down. Since JoJo Dan's 5'11", you know, make JoJo Dan have to lunge down and come up with the left or right hook counter. And I think he can very well win this fight. but he has to tag Jojo Dan a few good times on the inside, and has to counter him a few good times. So it could be difficult for Selcuk Aydin. It could be difficult. So on the other side, you have Jojo Dan. Has more experience, has boxed about almost like 80 more rounds than Selcuk Aydin. Doesn't have the same knockout percentage, but he is coming off of kind of a streak to where he hasn't, since the fight with Aydin last year, where all his fights aren't really going the distance. So pretty much in this fight, he has to try to keep Selcuk Aydin at the end of his jab. He has to keep him at the end of his jab. He has to use his height advantage to his ability, keep it at the center of the ring, work behind the jab, look for, and also since he has that he has kind of a turtle shell. He has a turtle shell type defense, and so pretty much he doesn't want to go to the body. He doesn't want to lunge, take a risk and lunge himself down to the body, so he's open to be hit. But in this fight, he has to use a lot of movement. He has to get out of the way a lot. He's more than likely he's going to need a lot of space. He needs to use the jab to create space, and also catch Aydin when he's punching. If he can catch Aydin when he's punching, then if he can catch Aydin when he's punching, then very likely he can probably slip in the left hook from the outside, because when you slip him between his guard, he doesn't really shell back up right away. His first tendency is to punch back, and he's the type of fighter, I think, that if you hurt him, his first tendency is going to be to punch back. I think that Aydin is just a fighter that likes to punch, and so pretty much what he wants to do is he doesn't want to stay off the ropes. He wants to keep the center of the ring, work behind the jab, even look to possibly counter Aydin, because Aydin likes to tee off. He can overextend his punches, and also he has to make Aydin back up. He has to make Aydin fight going backwards. He doesn't want Aydin to cut off the ring. He probably wants Aydin to chase him and just look for, and even a punch that might do it for him when in the middle of when Aydin is punching is the left cross from Jojo Dan. The left cross could be a key punch and a key weapon, because I just think that that's probably a punch from a specific angle that may actually hurt Aydin. You'll never know. Just because it's one of those punches he may not see coming. I don't think he protects himself well from power left-handed shots. Just because of how he fights. I think he's more used to the right-handed style, and pretty much it's just maintaining the distance, getting the rhythm early in the fight. Throwing combinations and spurts, and even stealing rounds from Aydin. No, that's not a good idea. He can't steal rounds in Turkey. But so overall, I just think that Jojo Dan needs to have a very offensively sufficient fight in order to win this one. Just offensive based, volume punching, combinations, occasional shots to the body, lots of movement. I think he could very well win this fight. So who I think is going to win this fight? I'm going to go with Jojo Dan in this fight. I think that, and this is me, I think Jojo Dan is a lot more polished as a fighter than compared to Aydin. I think he's more polished. I think he can. I think what's gonna be trouble for Aydin is possibly movement. So possibly the movement of Jojo Dan. If he can move and not stay in the pocket, I think he'll very much.